Let's go to Anjalee Khemlani now for the latest on the coronavirus. And Anjalee, I think we've got two big pieces of news. Jared alluded to the news out of Gilead. Still, I guess, some lack of clarity around what exactly those headlines mean. But then, a more local concern here in New York, I think the conversation that Governor Cuomo had today about the antibody test and the sense of what the virus might look like here in the state of New York, at least from my outsider perspective, seemed like the most substantive, news we've seen on getting a handle on the virus here in the New York area in some time.
That's right, Miles. Definitely for the New York area. We know that we've also seen on the West Coast some results of antibody testing and looking at what that prevalence is. And again, that is what we're really looking for, is more information on those numbers to see how the virus has affected the U.S. and what it is that we can do in addressing how to move forward, where states are safer to move forward in terms of that phased reopening based on federal guidelines. So as we're starting to ramp up serology testing and that antibody testing, those are the types of results that we're going to see. We know that in New York, we saw that 21% prevalence, and then in New York State as a whole, 13%. So that's a pretty interesting number to note. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, yes, on Gilead News, that debate is really about what exactly that report was what had the results of. But we know that it is those trials in China that were suspended and or terminated when they were looking at severe and moderate patients. But because it was taken down so quickly, there are very few details that we know about what was in that report, including how many participants were looked at. So we know that Gilead did push back, and they actually did provide a statement to Yahoo Finance saying that because this study was terminated early and there was low enrollment, they're not able to, quote unquote, statistically meaningful conclusions. And so this is in stark contrast, the negative results is a stark contrast to the other sort of leaks and smaller studies that we've seen coming out of the US. We know that there was one done at Mount Sinai and then another one in Chicago, and both those showed positive results. So the company has been saying that we will get some early results by the end of this month, and between this month and next month, all the clinical trials that are taking place in the US will show some results. So we'll have the official word rather than just these one-off trials soon, Miles.
And then I guess, Anjalee, just a broad question about what Gilead and others are doing. I mean, how much faster than normal is this process happening? And I guess the other thing is, are we being realistic here, I think, as outsiders on there being a really good answer for either how to treat or how to vaccinate for COVID-19 in any kind of time frame? The market obviously wants it, tomorrow, but it doesn't seem like anyone in the scientific community thinks that 18 months or less is realistic at all.
Right. And it's important to make the distinction between vaccines and treatments. The idea of a treatment, which is what Gilead is working on, is possible by the end of this year. And we know that they're already ramping up doses at risk to them in order to meet any demand that comes out of it, which does also indicate their level of confidence in the drug and in the details that they probably have access to right now. So we're waiting to see how this all pans out. But yes, it is a lot faster than usual. And this is where a lot of, that hunger is coming from, because in addition to what we were talking about earlier, those antibody tests, we're also looking at a treatment, because that will also help with the confidence problem that we have in terms of reopening the economy. And so it's a really key element. There are other companies also working on this, also looking at antivirals and other drugs that are already out there to see if they work on the virus. But Gilead is the furthest ahead at this point, and that is where that attention is focusing.
All right, Anjalee Khemlani with the latest on the coronavirus and the latest on Gilead's trial of Remdesivir at this time.